So I always enjoy introducing today's speaker, Dr. Rita Conrad. Many of you may not know, but that professionally, Rita has been an award-winning author and a national speaker in her former life as a college professor and a digital learning expert. But this time in her life that she refers to as her Renaissance years, she considers to be far more interesting, where she's just guided wherever spirit guides her and wherever life leads her. And this part of her evolution is being guided by her licensed Unity teacher studies and by her own personal journey, what happens in her life. And so the title of her talk today is The Journey from Outer Noise to Inner Peace. Here's Rita.
Thank you, Brian. That was even better than the introduction I wrote for you. So we all got an hour's worth of sleep more today, huh? Yeah, I kept telling myself that when I woke up at 3 o'clock and went, it's really 4 o'clock, go back to sleep. And then at 4 o'clock, I said, it's really 5 o'clock. And people who get up at 5 o'clock have been known to live beyond 5 o'clock, so get up. And thus the day went. When I got in my car, all the clocks in the house had been turned out back last night, but I got in my car and it was 10:28 and I went, what? And inner peace went right out the window for a moment. But I don't think I'm alone when I say that as a parent. I hope my child is listening to what I'm saying to them. Most times I wonder if I've been heard. But this past Christmas, my son gave me a gift. And I had confirmation that, yes, he has heard me on some level. It's a Christmas cup, but I love the sentiment on it so much that I keep it out year round. And on it says, all Mama wants is a silent night. My son knows me well. I cherish silence. I walk around the house going, but as was pointed out, this is our theme for November. But would it surprise you if I told you there's nothing such as complete silence? That wherever we are, there's no silence. Scientifically, even when we're alone in the quietest place on earth, there is not complete silence. In an article in American Scientist, Trevor Cox, a professor of acoustic engineering, discussed his search for extreme silence in the world. He went to remote deserts, secluded forests, Antarctica, and the one commonly considered the quietest place on earth, a vault of silence known as the anechoic chamber, which is a room within a room that have 3 sets of walls before you even get to the room to shut out all external noise. Stop any noise from entering it. And those who have spent time in this chamber report that even in this well-engineered, impressively silent place, there is sound. It is the sound of the movement of life. The sounds we usually cannot hear, of eyes blinking, eyebrows being raised, a nose wrinkling, a smile, the low-pitched sound of blood circulating, and the high-pitched sound of our nervous system operating. We are sound and life in constant motion. And on my own journey to inner peace, knowing that life is without me having to consciously do anything, no matter what else is going on outside the body, life is within me, comforting me and bringing me peace. So just as these scientists were studying things about the sounds of life, there are other scientists who are observing the motion of life. And here's one demonstration of that motion in the video that I brought. Joe was looking so engrossed. I said, in the video I brought. So this is a video of an experiment that was done with 64 metronomes, all started at a different time, and watch what happens in just about 3 minutes And for those who on Zoom who might not be able to see what's going on, listen for the change in the sound. Okay, I think they all went. Pretty incredible, huh? You didn't know this was going to be Science Sunday. But what you just watched was the concept of entrainment, a natural phenomenon in which one entity begins to work synchronously with another in response to the vibration of that first entity. And if you watch the video again, you'd notice that entrainment begins in various places on the board when two metronomes begin to go together. And the sound changes as well. At the beginning, there's that chaotic and then the grating sound, but as the entrainment strengthens, the sound is more smooth and the action becomes hypnotic. You know, when I get tired of the chaotic world, I turn on this video and I go, okay, it can't stay that way forever. It's gotta go back. It's gonna go back. But I feel myself clench at the very beginning, and then I smooth out and I am at peace as the entrainment begins. I'm relaxing, and by the end, I'm calmer and more peaceful. There are researchers at the University of Arizona that have discovered evidence that entrainment plays a vital role in how our body operates, and that the heart's energetic field exerts an entrainment upon the brain. So when we think we're too brain heavy, can't happen, because the rhythm of the heart is saying, come to me, I'm the center. And physically, automatically, our body is doing everything possible to set us up for inner peace. It's working coherently, cooperatively, and we don't have to worry about changing that aspect of ourselves. And this is where science meets spirituality, because many of the world's spiritual traditions urge us to operate from our heart, to entrain our actions from our heart. When the Buddha was pictured sitting on a lotus flower, it represents his having transcended the restrictions of the mind and senses, resulting in complete entrainment of his conditioned mind to his true nature. One might say his heart nature. However, this was preceded by an awakening into the truth that our human mind and identity are not who we think we really are. And this brings us to a question on the journey from outer noise to inner peace that Prem Rawat considers key. And Prem Rawat is a very interesting guy. I found this book last Sunday and I went, oh, there's my Sunday talk. He's been a global teacher of peace for 6 decades. He started talking about peace, he's my age. He started talking about it when he was 4 years old in India. He was up before people speaking at 4 years old. His father is a spiritual leader in India, so he was following his father's work. And he describes himself as someone who seeks to bring peace to all, one person at a time. Now that's a mission. And he wrote this book called Hear Yourself, How to Find Peace in a Noisy World. I love this book. He put it forth in 2021. He suggests that this gateway question to inner peace is more important than the questions we usually hear about why am I here or what is my purpose. And the question is, who am I? He writes that it's self-knowledge that results in realizing inner peace and in being inner peace. Prem learned this from his father, who's a great spiritual teacher in India, and whose message was this: the peace you are looking for is not waiting out there in the world. It is already within you, but you must choose to connect with it. And certainly the work of Charles Fillmore helps us answer this question, who am I, with his discussion of the 12 powers, those 12 action centers and attributes and identities that are inherent within each of us, that we are told we come to this world with, that are the tools for us to use in navigating life, and for me have become essential in this journey to inner peace. I want to highlight 2 of those powers. I'm not going to go through all 12. That's a talk in and of itself. The first is the power of life, which I equate with what was heard in the anechoic chamber. Life always is underneath all the noise of the world. And as Charles Fillmore wrote in his book, The 12 Powers, life is the energy that propels all form to action. And life in the body is like electricity in a motor. So again, we see entrainment also demonstrates the power of life. Reverend Paul Hasselbeck also wrote a book on the 12 powers, and he said of this power of life, by giving time to spirit, you gain a life of spiritual growth, inner peace, and pure joy. With the power of life, we practice the one presence we talk about. And Reverend Linda Martell-Whitsitt, in her book about 12 powers, lots of books on 12 powers, entitled Divine Audacity, says, life, the principle, and spiritual ability has no finite existence. When we say the word life, we think about it in an entirely different way than unity does. Life is not finite. You wield life. Your presence emanating from the universal source is filled with potential. And when centered in the animating, vitalizing, and being nature of life, you are a powerful presence. And I would add, thus, you are the powerful presence of peace. The power of love is the second one, and I also think of entrainment with this. Charles Fillmore wrote, love is the pure essence of being. God does not love anybody or anything. God is the love in everybody and everything. God is love, and humans become loving by permitting that which God is to find expression in word and act. And Paul Hasselbeck wrote, to desire our divine nature is the power of love, so that we harmonize everything in our life. And when I think of harmony, I think of peace. And Linda Martell-Whitsitt went beyond harmonizing, and she talked about unity in love. And she said, the unifying power of love is the remedy for separation consciousness. We are one with God, one with others. And I would add, one in peace. So we know life is motion, a motion that is entrainable, that can be influenced by the heart and by knowing and connecting with who we are. And so we come to another important question on our journey from outer noise to inner peace, and it's the one question I was asked as a doctoral student after I finished all my research, and I thought it was absolutely fabulous, and my advisor turned to me and said, so what? So what? You think you know something, you think you found something, so what? What difference does it make, and what do you do with this knowledge? We're standing at a point where we can know truth and know who we are and still look out on a world that seems to be imploding. Look at it in despair and feel there's nothing we know to do to change all the mess. We're right back to the beginning of our journey and wondering how to quiet this outer noise. Prem Rawat tells the story of a young Native American boy who goes to the chief of his tribe and said, "Chief, I have a question. Why are some people good some of the time, but bad at other times?" And the chief said, "That's because we have two wolves that live within us. There's a good wolf and a bad wolf." So the boy thought about this for a little while, and then he said, "Well, Chief, which one wins?" And the chief said, "The one you feed." To continue our journey to inner peace, we need to feed our inner selves so that who we know ourselves to be, the human divine, is what we consistently express in our lives and in the world. And how do we do this? For me, I've realized it's the one practice I've underestimated, sometimes overlooked, lacked confidence in, but recently discovered how empowering it is. And that is, as Peggy so beautifully said in the inspirational reading, the practice of affirmative prayer. The Reverend Michael Gott wrote a beautiful song entitled "We All Need a Prayer," and in it is this line, my favorite part: "The answers are right here. We stand before an open door. We all need a prayer to remind us who we are." I've realized that while I was focused on what I was praying about, I forgot to pray from who I am. I forgot to claim who I am and use my spiritual authority in praying. And as I prayed about peace in the world, I had not first claimed the power of life, of love, of harmony, of unity, and focused on how to use that power as peace. What was I going to do with that power? So what? This realization came this past month when I took a 4-week course with Reverend Linda Martella-Whitsitt, who I mentioned earlier, and she's a former director of Silent Unity, and she was one course facilitator, and Reverend Deanne Weir-Morency, an agape practitioner, an interfaith minister, and the senior minister of Unity of Marin, was the other facilitator. And they just wrote this book, and it really did just come out like 2 months ago, called "Discover Your Divinity, A Modern Guide to Affirmative Prayer." And I realized that while there's no wrong way to pray, there's a way that resonates with each one of us. And I had not found that way yet. I learned the classic 5-step unity way, which of relaxation, concentration, meditation, realization, and gratitude. But it wasn't a natural process to me. I kept catching in there somewhere. I struggled with it, and I found myself thinking more about the process instead of praying. Linda and Deanne have used their own experiences with prayer, and they've developed a model that arises from this historical unity model, containing 5 movements in what they call prayer flow. Movement 1 is opening to the possibilities, making space for new understanding, and being willing to shift and realign with divine principle. Movement 2 is recognizing God is, recognizing specific divine principles we want to align with, such as peace and harmony. And in naming those, in movement 3, I integrate I am. I'm integrating those into me, that I have a divine identity and stand in that authority, of spiritual authority, and being able to say, I am peace. I am harmony. Movement 4 is I realize I can, I have, I know. It's the so what steps. So you realize you are this power. Now what are you going to do? These are the actions I take in peace, the words I say in peace, and how I operate in the world in peace. Specifics. And then finally, movement 5, that I appreciate, that I realize my consciousness is shifting. And that has occurred in this moment of prayer. In addition to this prayer flow being much more natural to me, there were two other things that really grabbed me in this class. The first was that there were 35 of us in this class, very experienced Unity ministers, longtime Unity ministers, seasoned licensed Unity teachers, experienced prayer chaplains, longtime Unity members. This was billed as an advanced prayer class, and we all struggled with the same prayer movement. We did an exercise that I like to call speed praying, where in Zoom, they sent us off into rooms with someone else that we didn't know. 35 people, you don't get to know everybody. So you're in a room with someone you don't know. You each have something you want to pray about. You pray about, in 6 minutes, you each pray about one another's condition that you want to have resolved. And then, poof, you're in a room with another person that you've never met before, and you're doing this speed praying. So we did this 3 times. Yeah, it's jarring. Never mind. There's lots more to say about that. Never mind. So we did this exercise, and we came back into the large group, and Linda and Deanne looked at us and said, "So, how'd they go for you?" And all our little metronomes were going like this. But we came to the conclusion that the sticking point for us, no matter how much we knew, how much we'd read, how much we'd lived this philosophy, was in the third movement, in integrating I am, in being able to stand and say, I am that, and know that. Not believe it, because believe is external knowledge. Somebody else tells you you're that. You have to know it to be that and to pray from that. And all of us were in that point. This is the remembrance that feeds us, and it's vital to our prayer practice, for my prayer practice. I cannot speak for anyone else. As Prima Vat's father said about inner peace, it's right there. We have it, and we only have to connect to it. And it's that standing in our spiritual authority that does that. And the second thing that grabbed me in this class was when Linda and Deanne said, shifting our consciousness in prayer, in stepping into our spiritual authority, we are also changing collective consciousness. What Prem talks about changing one person, or changing all peace one person at a time. Because realizing we are the ones the world needs and that we're inherently powerful requires that we shed all those messages that society tells us, of unworthiness, that things never change, that one person can't do anything about what's happening in this world. So prayer, an empowering practice to change myself on this journey from outer noise to inner peace. So my fellow metronomes, we have a job. I invite you to consider that changing the world, bringing peace on earth, does not require a large army. It does not require holding a major political office or leading a country or millions of dollars or tons of internet followers. As the poet Rumi wrote, yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I am changing myself. I invite you to know you are peace. I invite you to use prayer to remind you of that, to stand in your spiritual authority, to affirm what is and always will be, and to re-engineer collective consciousness. This has been my journey thus far to inner peace. And I know it must continue because, as Prema Vat wrote about inner peace, when we feel that peace inside, we start to influence those around us. Peace is beautifully contagious. It's time. The world needs peace. It needs the peace that you and I are. And so it is.